What's up, it's Playstand, and if you follow the cEDH scene at all, you probably know that this past weekend was Fishbowl 4, one of the largest cEDH events at around 160 people. I was able to go, and I had a lot of fun, and I'm going to do my best to recap my games here in this video. Although, because I played so many games that weekend, I might have a hard time remembering all the commanders and stuff like that. Quick shout out to TC's Rockets for hosting the event. It definitely took a lot of their store space and a lot of time and energy from their employees. But anyway, this is the deck list I used. It's Sisse again. It's pretty much the same as from my last video, although I did swap a few cards out. I took out Nadu and Lightning Greaves and added back Lavinia and what was the other one? Strict Serenade. Oh, yep, there it is. Lavinia and Strict Serenade. I just wanted the deck to be as consistent as possible, and I was anticipating a lot of Nadu decks to be there, so Strict Serenade would definitely help out with that. But anyway, let's get right into it. My round one was a bit of a slow pod since we ended up politicking a lot to stop each other from winning, and that did end up making us go to time. Speaking of not remembering commanders, unfortunately I can only remember that I think all the other players had blue and that one of them was on Tivit. So I apologize to you if you're watching this. I did my best to try and remember, but I was not able to. It was a good game. We weren't just drawing for turn and then passing, but there were lots of heuristic effects and not a lot of win attempts made, and that did make us hit the time limit. And then since the active player couldn't win on their turn, the match ended in a tie. I'll certainly take the tie over losing, and even though it was long, it was still a pretty good game, and I wasn't like unhappy with it or anything. I just can't remember a whole lot of it the first game of the event, and then so many games following. I really couldn't remember. I know my hand had a lot of interaction, so I kind of just dealt with other people's things for a good first half of the game. But anyway, my round two was against Magda, Yuriko, and Rogsai. My opening hand had a Dockside, and I was pretty excited about it, but the Yuriko played an early Null Rod, so that went out the window, although it did help slow down the table, so I wasn't too upset about it. I did also have to mind break the Rogsai because they were in seat 1, turn 1, and they played a few rocks and then went for a Demonic Tutor. If it was another rock or something, I probably would have let it go, but Demonic Tutor, after all that on turn 1, yeah, I have to try and deal with it if possible. I was planning on playing my Dockside and then temporarily exiling the Null Rod with a Philia I had tutored for, and then go off from there, but the Rogsai played a Time Twister and Bowmasters, which got rid of my hand, wiped our boards, and dealt some decent damage. They ended up getting a Yogswill to replay the Time Twister, dealing all 21 of the Orcish Bowmaster trigger damage to me, and then swinging the 42 power Orc army at the Magda player, and then that just left Yuriko and I to try and chunk block the army when he swung it. He swings at me because I'm more likely to go off, so I chunk. And then Yuriko decides to leave me alive because they would end up dying if I wasn't there to kind of take the heat from the Bowmaster army. But the Yuriko got their Bloodchief Ascension online, and they ended up killing the Rogsai with it. And that left me able to combo through the Null Rod with the Oath of Bolas combo. Just barely, because I had the Mana Dork out already. It was a very fun, very close game. Pretty much everyone had a really good shot at taking it, except for maybe Magda, just because the early Null Rod really hurt. But other than that, it really just came down to who the Rogsai decided to take out first. But I think we all had pretty good chance of winning that one. My round 3 was against Rayhan Dargo, which is a pretty unique choice. Blue farm and then a second Magda deck. Dargo had a strong start. Blue farm had their Ristic fed a bit. They did try and cast a Breach, and then even not knowing any of the other cards in their hand, definitely needed to counter it, so I did, and they did end up having an LED in their hand, so it's good that I stopped that. I had a Dockside for 6, then went for a Metamorph copy of it, but I was silenced by Blue farm in response, so I couldn't go for any kind of win attempt on my turn. Magda played a Sculpting Steel as my Phyrexian Metamorph artifact dockside, so I had to sack my remaining treasures in response to the ETB trigger, but they didn't have enough treasures to go off, so they passed. The Jund player played an Adnaz, and we really didn't have anything. Magda used their treasures to try and go for a win in response, but they needed their Goblin Engineer to no longer have Summoning Sickness, so they couldn't. And the Jund player assembled a combo to keep sacking Dargo to mill us all out and take the game. Round 4 was against Nadu, another Sisay player, and my third Magda player of the day and of the event. The Nadu player and I had fairly strong starts and ended up developing some pretty solid boards. So the other Sisay player and Magda kind of put their heads together and politicked to try and kind of get us to keep each other in check. And eventually the idea of a draw was put out because Sisay and Magda didn't want to stop one of us and then King make the other and have them go off. I declined the first couple offers for draws because I had cards in my hand that made me feel like I still had a pretty good shot of winning even if they did decide to throw the interaction my way. Eventually, I did go for the win, but the other Sisay player had previously gotten a Aminatu and Dockside out, so they spun for a Sakashima to try and win at instant speed on top of my win. I couldn't stop them, but the Magda player did have a deflecting swat, and with the deflecting swat, they could stop one of us, but not both of us, so whoever they don't stop is just going to win. So at that point, I was definitely ready for the draw, and then everyone else did end up agreeing with it. Some people might look at a game like that and kind of use it as a reason cEDH is a bad format, but honestly, I really enjoyed the game, and I wasn't upset or unsatisfied with it or anything. Obviously, I wish I could have won, but a tie is still better than a loss, and then it really highlighted how important the political aspect of the format is. And then it was also kind of funny because we ended up spending so long politicking. Judges came by a few times to tell us that we needed to take game actions, which was definitely fair because at one point we had spent a few minutes in someone's end step just talking about like what to do and who to go for, whether or not to go for a draw, stuff like that. So that was a bit silly, but it was still a fun game, and like none of the political stuff or like the offers or deals or whatever people were making, none of them were like wrong either. They were all like the correct thing to go for or offer at that time. So honestly, yeah, it was a good game. I enjoyed it regardless. Round 5 was against a Ragra Thrasios, a Tymna Thrasios, and I believe a Najeela. Najeela and the Tymna Thrasios, I'm pretty sure had strong starts. My hand was decent, but mainly reactive, kind of just dork pass. We did have to stop the TNT player from assembling the Devoted Druid Swift Reconfiguration combo, so the Ragra Thrasios player had to deflecting swat the reconfiguration to the Najeela, and then after that there was an overloaded Cyclonic Rift, so I did end up replaying my Dockside to kind of try and rebuild my board as best I could. But I couldn't get the win because I went for a Displacer Kitten that ended up being countered. After that, I forgot the Ragra Thrasios player, who was next in turn order, had revealed a Flesh Duplicate off the Thrasios. So they played the Flesh Duplicate, copying the Dockside, and then played a Temur Sabertooth, making infinite mana and taking the game. This was another really close one. I almost had it, but the Displacer Kitten did get countered, so that kind of ended my win attempt. And I really should have had something maybe as a backup to get rid of my own Dockside since we had already seen the Flesh Duplicate. So a bit of a misplay there maybe, but still a good game with a few different win attempts, so I was still happy with it. And then round 6 was on the second day of the event, and at that point I was at 1 win, 2 losses, and 2 draws. So, and as was everyone else in the pod, and if we wanted to get top 16, we all needed to get we needed to win that game and then the next one. I was against Malcolm and something with red. I'm pretty sure it was a Vial Smasher. So Malcolm, Vial Smasher, another Blue Farm, and Brea. Blue Farm was first in turn order and they had a very strong start. The only thing that really slowed them down is that they had, I think it was either Exotic Orchard or Felwar Stone, and they got that into play before anyone else had taken their turn, so it couldn't tap for any colors. The Brea also had a pretty crazy start. They ended up resolving a Necropotent on, I think, turn 2. So on my turn 2, I had to play a Ranger Captain of Eos to hold up the sacrifice effect to stop anyone's win attempt. And then the blue farm had Demonic Consultation and Thoracle. They exiled their whole deck, but then it got countered, so they were essentially out of the game, but their artifacts were still there to add to a potential dockside count. The Brea would have gone off on their turn, but I silenced them with the Ranger Captain just in case. Then on my turn, I did go for the win by tutoring for a dockside, playing Displacer Kitten, then playing an Aether Vial to flicker the dockside with the Kitten, but I was just barely short on mana and I didn't have any other non-creature spells, so unfortunately I couldn't get it there. Then the Malcolm player played a Glinthorn Buccaneer and ended up killing us all with that combo. But overall the game was really wild. Pretty much everyone went for a win attempt on their turn 3, and like one more or one fewer pieces of interaction would have like completely changed the entire game. It was really interesting. It was really back and forth, like pretty tense. And even though I couldn't get to top 16 anymore, I was still in a good mood because it was just a really good game, and my games previous were also just really good games, really fun that I enjoyed. TC's Rockets was also doing a redemption event for people who wanted to keep playing but were out of the main event, so I dropped before the final 7th round and did that. But I didn't really play my best in the 2 games of the redemption event that I did, so I don't really want to recap them. But also part of that is I think my brain was a bit fried at that point, and then also in the second game, or I guess the second redemption event I played in, the game took almost 2 hours, and I don't think anyone at the table was really happy about that, which also kind of fried my brain. So I'm just gonna skip it. But again, sorry if I forgot your commander or didn't mention like a cool play you did. I played a lot of Magic over the weekend, so it was kind of hard to keep track of all of it. Overall, I was pretty happy with how I played and how my deck performed. I had really solid hands, and I had a chance to win, or at least like the line was visible pretty much every game. And I didn't really misplay or make any mistakes in my games, except for the thing with the flesh duplicate. And it was kind of minor since I was going for the win. But anyway, I was also happy because I didn't get anyone like rude or not fun to play with in my pods. My pods were all pretty cool, and there were no instances of like bad threat assessment or anything either, like like bullying or anything like that. I know that's not the universal experience when it comes to cEDH, but at least for me, I really enjoyed all the games I played in the main event. I'm still pretty happy with how I ended up doing. And I know at the event they mentioned a Fishbowl 5 happening in the future, taking place probably in a hotel for the larger venue, because their goal is to have it be at about 300 entrants, I think they said. So I'm definitely planning on registering for that. But again, thanks to TC's Rockets for hosting, and shout out to all my opponents for being really respectful and enjoyable to play against. Good games to you guys. And anyway, I'll see you later.